The bees are back. I would like to say no bees were harmed in the making of this video, but that's not going to be true. Inevitably, I squished one or two. So we're going to take this hive that is clustered around their queen inside there. We're going to move them over into my nice Apimaye insulated beehive. Now, not everything I have out here is state-of-the-art tools. For example, I've got my flathead, my wine screw, bag of marshmallows, some sugar water, and that's about it. We're going to get them going. Now, it is a very cold, rainy day here in Alaska, so I'm actually going to do this on my porch, which is covered, because inevitably what's going to happen is I'm going to take the queen out, I'm going to put her here in the hive, and I'm going to shake these out and into the hive. It looks harsh, but it's going to kind of dump them all out. Now, inevitably, some of them stay in their little carrier, and I want to give them as fair a shake as possible. And so it's covered here, and because it is such a crappy rainy day, I'm going to do this on my porch. What's going to happen is whatever bees are going to live through the night are going to make it into the hive. Whatever gets left out tonight, they're going to die. They're not going to make it through the temperatures. And then they're not going to come out of this hive probably for several days. So once they all go in there tonight, I'm gonna take the hive and I'm gonna move it to where I'm actually gonna keep them for the summer. But because it is such a cold, rainy day, we're gonna do this all right here on my covered porch, and hopefully whatever lingering bees end up after I shake them all out will survive the night. I gotta get my hair tucked in here because the Velcro of this suit is like super glued to this hair. And I definitely don't want to leave any like open spaces. I don't want to leave any open spaces where bees can get in, because listen, what I'm about to do to them is going to make them real spicy. For starters, it's cold and rainy, which they're not going to be happy about. They've been traveling for days, which they're not happy about, and I'm about to just rustle them all up. So, an interesting fact about honeybees is they don't actually, they're not natural to Alaska. Why? Because they can't survive the winter on their own. Now, year over year, I try to get my hive through the winter, and year over year, I fail and they die. Now, I'm in the shadow of that mountain, which means 4 months out of the year, in the winter, the sun never touches my property. So I'm extra cold here. Let's say it's -10 in town. I'm going to be like -20 or -25. So it's a pretty arduous task to try and get them through the winter. So I'm going to turn this sideways just so I have a little more extra space to get in here. What makes me really nervous every time, doesn't matter how many times I do this, is I'm always afraid I'm going to squish my queen. So anyways, what happens is the hive that I get, what they do is they take a queen that they had here in Alaska, and they take a queen that was here in Alaska that survived at least one winter, and they send her south to California to be paired with a hive. Now, the combination I always go with is a Russian hive, because they're a little spicier than other strains of bees, but they're used to the cold temperatures. And so there's this whole big effort here in Alaska to try and get the genetics of honeybees changed so that they will survive the winters here. Now, some people do get their hive through the winter. Lots of people actually succeed in it. They can't, like honeybees couldn't do it naturally because the people that get their bees through the winter have to feed their bees all winter, insulate their hive, keep them warm somehow. Um, so it's not something that just inherently happens. Okay, this always gets me every year. I gotta get into this damn thing, and I never can. So what I'm trying to do is there's this can of sugar water in here, and it always takes me forever to get this out. But this is like how you get into the hive. I can never do it. My only other option that I always end up doing is cutting the screen and reaching in there and grabbing the queen. I also don't love doing that, but I'm thinking that's what I'm going to have to do because I can never get this damn can out. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys have some like wise tips for me, but I can never get this damn thing out. Let's see here. Smaller. Now, when I'm tending the bees, not on a day like this, because like I said, they're already going to be upset about a lot of things. But when I'm tending the bees, like in the summer, I can get into the hive. Oh, I got it. I got it. I can get into the hive. So this has, so this is where I'm like, I'm going to squish them. This has sugar water in it. And it's what they've been living off of. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check I'm covered. I'm going to slide the queen out, which is right here. And so this is the part that makes me really nervous. So she has like a cork plug on her. So here's the queen. She's inside here. Instantly, the bees are like very angry. So I'm just going to kind of knock them off here. I really, really don't want to squish any for many reasons, but one of the reasons is they release a pheromone that smells like bananas, and it signals an attack. So there's the queen right there. She's in that box. And I'm going to take my wine opener. Oh, you can see they're getting spicy. And I'm going to, this is the part that makes me so nervous. So I'm going to take, here, let me move this so you can get out. What's going to happen is I'm going to take this screw out and I'm going to replace it with one of these little baby marshmallows. Why do I do that? Okay, so going back to my story that they take the Alaskan queens and they send them south and they pair them up with a Russian hive. So this hive has only been together for like maybe a week. And we want to make sure this hive and their queen is good and paired up. Because if we don't, then, you know, they might bolt on her or kill her or whatever. So the longer they can be around her smell, her pheromones, the more attached to her they're going to be. So I'm going to take this marshmallow, I'm going to wedge it where this corkscrew is, and they're going to essentially eat the marshmallow away so she can be released. But it's going to take them like a day or two. At least that's the hope. And so it's going to take them like a day or two. And so that's going to give them time, more time to bond, and also, you know, kind of make her stay put. I don't want, although in this weather, no one's going anywhere. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to whoops, sorry about that. Sorry, little buddy. So I'm going to make like a little hook. Without popping the screen off. Jesus Christ. All right, you know what? I'm trying to move really quickly because it is cold. It is like in the 40s. That is no bueno for these bees. So I'm gonna get this screw, this cork out. And I gotta get it out, but keep her in and replace it with the marshmallow real quick. And I gotta do it without killing her. Yep, she's still in there. All right, so there's that. Marshmallow in real quick. All right, so got that marshmallow in there. I'm going to go ahead and place her here. And now, because her smell is in here, I've taken out one of the screens to leave more room. Okay, so this is where this is going to look harsh, but it's not. I'm just going to, one and done, dump them in here. Ready? This is the part that always freaks me out. Ooh. So they're gonna gravitate towards her smell. So some of her smell is still in this cage, which is not ideal, but I'm gonna get them in. Dude, are you new fear initiated, right? So you can see I still have quite a few in there. And really is just easiest on them to give them a good shake and get them out. Now, this hive looked pretty good. There are always going to be bees that die in the process, in the transportation. This one looked pretty good. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my box cutter. I really don't want to leave any out, right? So I've got to get them all in here. I got to close this up. It's way too cold for them. And so make sure that they can get to the queen. Yeah, that all looks good. Okay, trying to move quickly. I want all the bees to get in there. What was I doing next? Don't eat those marshmallows. Oh, I got to get my box cutter. So I'm going to cut the screen and hopefully get this process moved along of them getting in there. So here's the screen. Kind of give me a bigger hole for me to get them out of this traveling box. Like I said, in warmer areas, this would not be an issue. They would just leave this just like this. The bees would eventually, gravitate towards the hive, towards their queen smell. It is a huge issue for me because any bee that does not get out of here and into their hive like in the next 30 minutes is going to die. They can't survive. Ooh, I just put a lot on me. They can't survive these temperatures. So this is like a do or die situation. Like I said, I can leave this out here for them, but they will absolutely die. And you can't really see this, but a lot of them are already pretty lethargic. This is a long travel. This is cold weather. So they're still smelling their queen in there, so they don't want to let go. Now I see people do this without a suit on. More power to you. That ain't for me. That's some nonsense. I don't particularly want to be stung 800 times. And listen, during the summer, when I'm getting into the hive and they're calm and they're normal, they're totally fine. They don't bother me. I don't got to wear my suit. Now, if I get into the frames and I'm jostling them around, especially if I got to be anywhere near the queen, I'm going to put my suit on. But if I'm just getting in there and I'm checking the hive, maybe I'm just checking the progress, I don't have to wear a suit. They're not innately aggressive, but their sole existence is to protect the queen. So if I start becoming a threat to the queen, they're going to say, well, we're going to attack you. And every time they try to sting me, they die. So this is for their protection as much as it is for mine. Come on, little fella. Actually, that's not true. Another interesting fact, every one of these bees is a girl. No boys. The first couple of eggs that the queen lays will be drone eggs, male eggs. But she does not actually need the males to lay those fertilized eggs. It's wild, right? So yes, every one of these worker bees are female. In the fall, when the honey supply runs out, or I should say the pollen supply runs out, and they need to start conserving their food supply, they drag all of the drones out of the hive and they kill them because they don't need them. And they're trying to conserve their food sources, their food supplies. So they drag them out, kill them, make it through the winter if they're lucky. Like I said, in warmer areas, it's not an issue. Here it is. And then in the spring or late spring, when things start to warm up, the queen will lay. Uh-oh. I must have squished one because I smell bananas. Not a big deal. They can't get me through my suit, but like I said, when you squish them, it releases a pheromone that smells like bananas, and that teaches the hive that there is an attack, tells the hive that there is an attack. Come on, girls. Again, I have to get as many as possible into the hive because they will absolutely die. And so you can see that is a lot of bees to not get. So I'm going to cut this other side of the screen open. Come on, lady. Come on, girls. When the hive, to heat themselves, they flutter their wings, which means when they're having to heat themselves, they're not out looking for food and maybe not even eating because they need as many as possible. And their main goal is to keep the queen warm. So the more bees there are, the warmer she will stay, the warmer the hive will stay, and the sooner they can get to eating and drinking and becoming a strong, resilient hive. Come. So because it still smells like the queen in here, they're all reluctant, these ones that are left over. They're reluctant to leave. Now, again, in warmer areas, you would just set this box aside, you would close the hive up, and you just let them kind of migrate in on their own. I don't have that luxury because they've got maybe about 15 more minutes. Maybe about 15 more minutes before things start going wrong, real wrong in this weather. It's cold, it's rainy, they've been traveling, they're probably a little dehydrated. That can of sugar water is like practically full. Oh shit. Ooh, I think I got one inside of. Oh, that was inside or outside? Oh god, they're outside. All right, they're outside. So we're just gonna keep on gingerly. Gingerly, come on, ladies. Come on, girls. I want y'all to live. And you can see they're starting to go down into the hive, which is good. Good, 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 because I've got to put the top on here real soon. I can't. Now, they have entrances into the hive. So if they stay out, I close up the lid, they'll still have a chance. If they work fast and get themselves into the hive, they will be able to live. Come on, girls. Now my husband is deadly allergic to bees. Otherwise, I would just probably put them in my garage, but being that he would probably prefer I don't kill him, I'm gonna do it out here. Again, are you in my, you're out. Okay. So I've got a fair share. I mean, I would love to get them all in there, but it's survival of the fittest at this point because I got to get this hive closed up. So I'm gonna try and shake off a few more here. Come on, ladies. And then I'm gonna have to close up the hive. And I'm gonna have to hope that they just get on in. There is, what you can't see, there's a decent amount of dead bees that didn't make the trip, and that's okay. That's, like I said, this actually looked like a pretty good, strong batch. Very few dead ones. It's inevitable. The travel kills them. But this looks like a pretty decent hive. And so what's going to happen, because there are, because it is so cold, they're not going to want to leave the hive, as I feed them sugar water, probably for a good couple of weeks. What really impresses me is how much pollen they'll start bringing into the hive, even though I visibly can't see any flowers. And they might find like somebody's flower box. I think that they get a lot of like tree pine, pine pollen, because it'll only take them a week or two, and they're coming back with as soon as it warms up, as soon as it gets warm enough for them to leave, they'll start coming back with a steady flow of pollen, which blows my mind because I have no idea. It doesn't look like there's any flowers anymore. But nonetheless, I continue to feed them really for at least a month. And that's just to help get them going. I want them to have this is called the brood box here. And then what goes on top is called the super. And I want to harvest from the super. And so I need this brood box to get as full of honey as possible, as quick as possible. Because when that happens, then they're going to move up into the super. That's the extra honey. And that's what I get to harvest. So even if they're bringing pollen back and I'm feeding them, that's just going to be brood box honey. It's not going to be the honey I harvest. And it's going to get them to starting to store their extra stores of honey quicker, which means I will have a better harvest. So that's why I get a lot of comments every year when I'm doing this, like, oh, you shouldn't still be feeding them sugar water. The nectar flow has started. I feed them sugar water until June at least, because again, they're not even close to filling their brood box up, which means they're not close to going into the super. So I'm not going to make the honey I'm going to harvest out of the sugar water. Why would that matter? Because wildflower honey tastes better than sugar water honey. And so I don't want the sugar water honey. I want the flower or wildflower honey. All right, so get them in there. And okay, so I'm gonna put this aside. Like I said, any bees that don't get in here, that one's dead, and don't get in here quick, are not gonna make it. Oh, come on, girl. Come on. Some of them are so lethargic, poor things. So what will happen too is they will drag any dead ones out in the morning. They're very clean. Maybe not in the morning because it's cold, but any dead bees, I can see some are in here. Come on, come on. And then right here, So that's where the queen is, right here in her little bee box. And so I'm going to now put on, come on, ladies. This is where the sugar water is going to go. So put this back up. So, scoop them in here, get this covered up. And again, they do have entrance into the hive if they're out of the hive and they want to get in. So go like this. And I'm going to then just take some sugar water. I'm going to pour it into their feeders. And so, no, ladies, please don't do that. I need you. Essentially, it needs to be a certain way, because if it isn't that way, they will drown in the syrup. Oh, ladies. Okay, so I need them to not be able to access this. Okay, so that's on there all correct. Come on, I don't want to drown you. There we go. Okay, one more, come on. So they've got little guards. The Apimaye insulated hives are really so nice. Some of my rookie mistakes included not getting insulated hives and using wood hives, which again might have worked for a warmer area, but no bueno here in Alaska. All right, so I'm just going to dump this sugar water in here, and they're going to be able to access this, but not in a way that is going to let them drown. So it's kind of like seep in, but they can't get out into this like main area. And they'll go through one of these every day for the next month. And it's really, I mean, there's no magic to it. Just fill this like 3/4 of the way up with sugar, and then fill the rest up with water. So not too bad in the carnage. And now I'm going to put these tops on. So everything stays nice and flush, nice and warm. What I did was I took out one of my frames. And so this is what is called drawn comb. So it's like honeycomb that's already created for the bees. This helps them get up and get going. I took one of these frames out just to give them a little more space, because they're all discombobulated and kind of sitting on the side. And I'll put that frame back in later. Okay, so I gotta dump this out. And put the lid back on. And there, we just moved our hive over. Now, I got a couple of bees that are, oops, well, that one's not alive anymore. I got a couple of bees that are still out of the hive, but for the most part, these are all dead bees. So if any bees are gonna make it out of that box, they're gonna have to, let's see if I can kind of scoot them in here. What happens is they get lethargic and they die. They can't stay warm. So I'm just kind of trying to, come on, lady. Trying to help them along, but they're not looking so hot. So I don't think any of these ladies are gonna make it. And now something important to remember is a dead bee can still sting you. So don't be coming along picking up dead bees. And you know, we did pretty good. I wonder if I can just kind of scoop some of these out and get them to the entrance. Just kind of help them along here. There you go. There you go. All right, let's see here. Scoop a couple more of these up. And they'll kind of stay in a cluster. All right, getting a few more in there. Every single bee is gonna make a difference. So let's see here. Come on, ladies. If I can just scoop some of these up here. I hate trying to scoop them up because I swear I always squish them. Miraculous things, but not exactly sturdy. All right, well, I'm gonna move. Let's see, do I have an entrance over here? No. All right, so I'm just gonna scoot this over here. I'm gonna kind of gather up all these dead bees, and I'm gonna put this box right next to the hive entrance so that if they're gonna make it, they're gonna do it. So not too bad in the dead bee sector. Actually, really impressive amount of dead bees, like on the good side. Very few are dead. I've had hives that come to me and it's like, okay, half the hive is dead by the time you get them. So that's about it. That's about it. The ones that are on me, and you can see, like the ones that are on me are pretty much dead because that's, you know, how little tolerance they have for the cold. So they've landed on me. They were alive. They've been on me for what, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Do you have any other ones on me? Come on. Get into your hive. So that's why it's so important to get, you know, you just kind of have to triage it and say, all right, that's as many as I'm getting in because I get the cover back on the hive. So it's pretty easy from here on out. I will essentially open the lid up once a day, replenish their sugar water in like, that's a small marshmallow that I put in there. So probably like 1 or 2 days. I will check the bee box, the queen box, and make sure she got out because you don't want her, she can starve in there. So you want to make sure she can get out, and then I'll pull out that little queen box, and then I'll put in the frame because I kind of separated it so there was space in there. And that's kind of it. I just keep an eye on them, and I'll in the morning I will move them to where they're going to be for the winter, which is not here on my porch for many reasons, but trust me, they will not come out for several days. I'll be able to pick this thing up. I won't even need to have my suit on. I'll pick it up and just walk over to where they're going. They won't leave their hive. It's too cold. So anyways, another year of the bees. They're here. They're in the hive. The queen looks healthy. The hive looks healthy. I'm feeling good about this year's harvest.